All right, so I was running the pump, and there was a bunch of air that got out first. I could see it coming up through here, but then I loosened the cap, which sometimes I have the cap on and off. I always suspected it, but when I did it this time, after I mean, it was sitting here for like 2 weeks now. I haven't touched this car. This is the '85 Oldsmobile '98, by the way. And after I released the cap, I kept seeing it was like whoosh. And now I says, let me make sure the vent isn't blocked, because that can affect what's going on here, and probably it still affects it anyway. But I can hear the air rushing into the tank. I actually heard a pop at one point. But if I keep doing this, oh, with the cap loose, you can hear it. So there's some issue with the venting for sure, which can cause a lot of issues. But I just wanted to make sure it can keep pumping, and it really wasn't pumping until I loosened the cap. But right now I'm pushing. Oh, that's what popped. It actually will pop past the cap after a certain point, and then when I let go, the fluid comes back and starts dripping all out of here. Now I tighten this clamp, but that's definitely a venting issue. That's why I was going to drop this tank anyway. I still suspected there was other things wrong with the tank as far as where the pickup tube was, because even when I had the cap loose, it wouldn't pick up right. But there's definitely an issue, and by pumping air in there, I should not hear that. It should have found a way to vent out. So there's something, fucking spider webs in the vents or whatever, or the whole unit. There's some issue with it. There's got to be a third vent coming out. This is just a return line, and there's a vent. So that's going to be next to tackle on this car. That didn't go back too well, but I got to put the filter back on. But I want to pump out some gas, diesel out of this, because I got to drop the tank, ultimately. So I'm going to keep doing it like this and just keep letting the electric pump do it slowly, because I actually have pressure in it, and it might be dripping when I put pressure in it. Well, now the cap is loose again, so you hear it bubbling. That was pretty funny how this popped. It'll pop after a certain amount of pressure. So it could be that's what was happening to me. I thought a lot more fluid would be coming out. You see it dripping there. Yeah, right there. It just self-vented after a while. See right there. So yeah, I was expecting this, but it has to go through this. I mean, it's just going through here. I guess the electric motor doesn't really allow it to go, because when I put the key on, then it does pump, but it's not like this huge impressive pumping, But I bet you it's pumping now better with the pressure in the tank is. But the same opposite effect with the vacuum issue. See right now, that's pumping. Almost like it'll work better if it was pressurized, but for the same reason that it's getting pressurized in this situation. That's how much air I'm pumping into the gas tank. For the same reason that's happening is the same reason why it's getting, not venting properly. But it doesn't seem like it changed drastically, the amount of fluid. But the pump sounds different now, See if I add air into it. There we go. The sound of the pump changed for sure. Add air. Yeah, it practically shuts off after it reaches. And see, look, there is air coming through here. It should not be. The air should be on the top of the tank here. Yeah, I really suspect the pickup tube is rotted, or it's picking up air somewhere, because I always have a problem when this thing gets to half a tank or lower. Yeah, look at all that air now. It's coming right into the main line, which doesn't make any sense unless there was something wrong with the pickup inside the tank, And now I'm checking out the glow plugs, because they're fine, but I got to wire it up for the other car because there's something wrong. I'm missing a power and a ground. I fixed one wire that was here, but I need a wiring diagram probably. I got to get something going on here with this, because this is going to get annoying. But I don't know what's going on here with these wires and where they end up running to, and I had already taped it all up. I probably should have made sure that it was right, but I did a lot of work to this car, and it'd be sucky to have to use a button still to trigger the glow plugs. So I'm putting AC in it, and I'm going to make up the lines. So Lots of stuff happening. All right. Thanks for watching. So now that the return line is hooked back up, I gotta still put all this on, but I want to pump a full 5 gallons out of it at least to make it lighter. If you look carefully, and it's not good lighting, but you see faint bubbles. You can see it coming out of the filter element. See? It's just a constant amount of bubbles. That's crazy. Yeah. And I just have a hard time believing that there's an O-ring missing from here or there. Like I saw over here. I really just think the O-ring dropped when I had done it. But I can't believe this is sucking air from somewhere but not leaking out when it's under pressure. You know, this doesn't seem feasible, you know. So, that's that. Definitely a good idea to always put a see-through filter on the main line here coming in from the tank, because then you get a better idea what's going on. All right, so I just want to add that too. So, I think you know, the 5 gallons or 6, whatever, it's not really filled up. I think it's right around here. Is this heavy? Oh, it's getting heavy. It's about half. So I took out 7.5 gallons, but I just wouldn't think it would be at this point. That's why I think there's some issue with the way the pickup is picking up, because I believe now key on the gauge. Oh, the gauge, it was at 3/4 before. Now it's at like 1/4. This is when I really started having problems with the car in the beginning, but then it was happening at half, you know, and this gauge could be off, you know, also, you know, a bit. So changing the sending unit and everything. My only problem is I bought it and I have no idea what the hell it is. I'm trying to find it the last couple of weeks. It's another reason why I haven't worked on the car. But ends up being that car, the glow plugs do work because it works with the fuel pump fuse. Because when I changed the fuel pump fuse, it actually powered that as well. So it seems to be working. It just doesn't start immediately, but that could be because of the solenoids or whatever. Like I got to hit the gas and then run it for like 5 seconds, and then it'll kind of hold on to the idle. So, that being said, so far so good, and I'm probably going to pack this in as far as this is concerned, because I got something else I got to work on. Get as much fuel as I can out of it to make it lighter. Probably doesn't help that I have it going up like this, but let's see. The only hose I can find right now. If I have it going down, maybe I'll get a longer hose somehow and we'll join it together. I don't know what gave me the impression that this was bad. Why did I take it out? Haha, it's really bad. Now, the new one that I said I had that I couldn't find, I have a feeling I returned it, even though I try to look for my emails. And if I didn't return it, it's probably just for a fuel injection vehicle of the same year. There was something about the lines were O-ring, they're O-ring style, and these are obviously not. So it wasn't really right, and it was like 3 wires because it obviously had the motor, and this is only 2 wires in a 3-wire thing, so not a big deal on that. But the guy that I know does the welding, he could probably remake the lines and TIG weld them into the thing there. But it's in rough shape. I might just buy a new one from a regular car, and then do what I was saying, is extend the thing down. But there is no vent on this tank. There's just this, you know, and I find that very, very odd. And it was building pressure in there, you know, but I think it builds pressure once it starts sucking air from the tank. I think that's the main thing, you know. I just don't see how this is not vented, you know. I mean, the tank was vented, the cap was vented, you know, but I got to take this off now and see what the hell's going on. You can see it has an extra line there. It's because it didn't have the option. But I can put something that has a vent. I can do a lot of stuff with this, you know. But the venting is definitely an issue. Pretty much all my diesels, that Celebrity is the only one out of 5 cars that I had. Is the only one I didn't suspect anything, and I would leave the tank, you know, tight. But I'm assuming that the bottom of this tank, because it still has some fuel in here. It's pretty heavy still. And I took out 7 gallons. Don't forget, it was like on 3/4 of a tank, and 3/4 is really like half. So if it's a 20-gallon tank, roughly, then you're talking about at least 10 gallons. So I took out 7. Yeah, there's probably 3. And I bet you it wasn't picking up, as I guarantee it's rusty inside here. There's some issue here for sure. But I'll know once I take it apart. Pretty dirty and rusty in there. Lines, well, those are the lines that are rusty, but even these lines, they're rusty, but I don't know if they're actually sucking water, but I think that this is just clogged with rust. And this is some kind of bypass valve that I gather is supposed to suck it through here, and that, whatever, that's like the safety, screen. And that screen is, looking kind of clogged as well. So that'll create a vacuum situation, and that's why maybe the tank is getting pressure, back pressure in it. And there are other people who have taken these things off on the V8 cars, but this is definitely like a whole different ball game here. But I think it's just prone to getting, clogged. And then in here, I mean, I'm sure my aftermarket tank that I got don't have these baffles in it, but it is definitely rusty inside. I don't know if you can see here. I mean, it's like a couple of things of rust, and everything looks, relatively clean. And I don't get that case here. I can't put my phone in the tank, but this is going to go. There's a lot of plastic, but it just it's definitely something wrong here. And I wish I can get the. I think I did get the part number, and it just doesn't. And then you get the aftermarket companies that always say, "Oh yeah, it crosses," But I can just take a new one and probably add length of line. But I got to get the one that has the regular hoses on it like that, because I think there's some that had it like that and some that didn't. Like if it was carbureted, it had it like that. But 85 was like a real split year, and this is the first year of this, and the only year the diesel came in this body. So I got more ordering to do, but definitely is the problem. And I have a new tank already. I just got to get the right float, and the one I got is definitely, it's not going to be right at all. So even if I could find it, I'm almost thinking I did return it, but I'm kind of thinking I saved it, to be honest. But because they said it was because it was an O-ring style, but it had standard thread, which was a weird thing. Like the next year everything was all metric thread, but the next year they had no diesel. So, but there is no thread on this. This is all solid line, and thank God the rest of the lines kind of look okay. So I'm hoping at least, but this is definitely an issue, and something you can never rule out, But once it starts to build, suction and vacuum in there, and then when you're blowing through here and there's nowhere to go other than the cap, well, I think that just goes to show one thing. That just shows that you don't need a vented tank. The cap is vented, but when this is correct, then I think everything works. And so my Celebrity just does not have that issue. I make the gas cap tight, and I don't have this issue. But this started getting progressively worse. Quarter tank. Like I think the weight of the fuel when it's up more, it has a less impact. It's able to get in. That's why a quarter tank, it just doesn't want to work. But oh well, more stuff to be done. At least I found out pretty much. I think the main problem is pretty much in the tank.